Fake faces. Yes, sir. It's the VLOGZ, boy. Let's do it. It's the VLOGZ, boy. Yep. You're all welcome. Come on, come on. It's going down. VLOGZ in the city, baby. What's going on? Talk to me nice? Or don't talk at all. Shouts out to everybody let me tag up their page every week, man. I know I'll be tagging up your page something crazy. I appreciate y'all, man. Yo, shouts out to everybody on the YouTube, man. We here. We getting it going. I'm just tagging some folks on the live stream. You know what I mean? And we're going to get right to it. You know what I'm saying? Another episode of the VLOGZ. We're a little earlier this week. I'm thinking we're going to starting the show a little bit earlier just to get a different demo, hit a different demo and all that. But today we talking fake faces, y'all. Fake faces. You know what I'm saying? Who is you really? Who is they really? You know what I'm saying? Shouts out to everybody in the live. It's your boy Suave God. I'm just tagging a couple people. And we're going to get this live started up real live and real quick. Fake faces, y'all. You know the vibrations, man. Shouts out to everybody in the live. Listen, we about to move the VLOGZ to YouTube, right? So I need everybody to go ahead and, subscribe to that YouTube channel. Forever95. Just go to YouTube. Inside of the search bar, just put in Forever95. We'll come right up. And I'm very happy to say that at this point, you can Google us. You know what I'm saying? Just Google Forever95. Just literally put in the Google Forever95. And we pop right on up. So rock with us on the YouTube. We got wow episodes there. The VLOGZ will be moving to YouTube. So if you want to stay tapped in and stay in tune with us, please rock with the YouTube and subscribe to the YouTube. Today, like I said, our topic is fake faces. We're getting right into it, man. I got a couple shout outs. I want to shout out Mr. Carl Pringle. You know what I mean? PBM all day. Please support the movement. Y'all about to see a lot of new content from me and the good brother, Mr. Carl. So I want y'all to stay in tune and stay tapped in with us all the time. I want to shout out, you already know, Food for the Soul. That's that good eating on Phil, y'all, man. 6829 Phil, y'all, man. You got to get with it. I want to shout out the End Zone. Come on now. You know the vibrations, B. That's my spot, man. That's my little get low spot. End Zone, man. You want to get right. 584 Raleigh Road. Rock with us how you rock with them. They got End Zone to go right across the street. Good eats. Tap in with End Zone and Food for the Soul's Facebook because they got all types of deals and wheels going on every day, all the time. So you want to make sure you tap in with that. But let's go ahead and get into this work because we don't want to waste nobody's time. We got about an hour to get it done. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. Yo, first things first, like always, I need 3 people in the live to share this live so we can go ahead and get it working. I need 3 people in this live to share this live so we can go ahead and get it working. So I want to talk about fake faces today, y'all. I think it's important that we talk about fake faces. You feel me? And what I mean by fake faces is the mask that we wear really reflects the feelings that we have, right? And when I say fake faces, I'm not necessarily speaking about other people. I'm talking about the fake faces and masks that we ourselves are walking around wearing, right? So when I say fake faces, I'm not pointing the finger at anybody else. I'm pointing actually all the fingers back at myself and addressing the fake face that I may wear from time to time in this thing that we call life, right? And addressing why these fake faces happen and what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Somebody drop something in the comments so I know y'all here. Let me know if my audio was good. Talk to me. Let me know. Fake faces. Okay. I see it. Okay, we good. Thank you, Miss McNeil, for that. I understand. We here and everything's rocking. Big shouts out. So fake faces. The mask we wear rarely reflect the feelings we hold. And what I mean by that on a very general scale is 9 times out of 10, when we're moving around in life and in the world, we got to wear a fake face. right? You might have woke up today and your stomach was hurting. You might have woke up today and your mom, God forbid, was sick, or your dog was sick. And when you go to work, you can't necessarily wear the face that you left the house with, right? And sometimes we call that a fake face. We say somebody's being fake, they're being fraudulent and things of that nature, without a clear understanding of what may be going on deeper. And that's what we like to do here at the God Vlogs. We like to dive deeper and go beyond the surface, because it's all about digging deeper to get better understanding of each other, because with better understanding, we can all bond and build on a deeper and more powerful level. You know what I'm saying? That's what this is all about. So let's dig. First things first. I feel like these fake faces come and stem from negative thought, right? Negative thinking is why we feel the need to hide feelings or emotions or the places that we are. Shout out to everybody on the YouTube. You might see me looking here. That's what I'm talking to the Facebook. You might see me looking here. That's what I'm talking to the YouTube. But shouts out to everybody. But negative thought, man, when we have negative expectations or negative notions of certain things, you know, that'll create these fake faces. So because we're going through so many cycles of negative thought in our own mind, we go into these places instead of displaying and expressing our true feelings that, yo, I'm having a bad day, man, I'm fucked up. Or I'm having a bad day. I'm not feeling so hot. You know what I'm saying? I'm having a bad day. You know, things ain't so good. We kind of wear a fake face. But most times we do it in the interest of other people. You know, a lot of times we do it, and it's not so much about, you know, me wanting to be fake or trying to be fake. It's more so, look, I'm not trying to drown the moment with what I got going on. I'm not trying to damper the moment with what I got going on. So we got to always be in a constant state of self-evaluation. We got to be in a constant state of self-evaluation. You know what I'm saying? We got to understand and always be cognizant and conscious of if we're playing the victim or not. You know what I'm saying? Is this negative thought that's leading us to these places that we don't necessarily want to be in, where we don't want to go, caused by ourselves? That's why you got to be in a constant state of self-evaluation, right? So while evaluating yourself, you're going to end up diagnosing yourself. And I want to just throw something out there, right? The God Vlogs, I am no doctor. I am no professional in any sense of the word. But what I do got is time. And with that time, oh, my fault, I'm back. And with that time, what I do got is time. And with that time, I seek out information, you know what I'm saying? And I want nothing more but to spread that information. So I delved into negative thinking and what negative thinking can cause, what the places negative thinking can bring us. Because I see a lot of us thinking negatively, and I can see this through the posts. I can see this through the things that we're posting and liking, the memes and the comments and the videos. You know, so much of it is based in negative notions. So much of it is about making fun of other people. So much of it is based in, you know, putting others down. And I think we need a lot more. Instead of just saying, of course, we need a lot more positive posts and a lot more positive thinking, but we got to address what's going on. So what is thought disorder? And again, you know the Suave God, I never play like I'm smart or like I know anything. This is coming directly from healthline.com. This is coming directly from healthline.com. Al G, I see you in the live. Leah, I see you in the live. Mr. Pringle, I see you in the live. You know what I'm saying? You know what's going down. Shout yourselves out. Everybody drop your name, drop your comments. I need 3 people in the live. The shit is live because we definitely about to go to work. Like I said, we're talking about fake faces today, y'all. The mask we wear rarely reflects the feelings we hold, right? And the reason why we wear these masks, I feel, is due to a consummate and MS Antoinette is in the live. Big shouts out. We all good now. Peace. The live just got some peace. It's a consummate cycle of negative thought. So if we're in a consummate cycle of negative thought, we got to address where this negative thought is coming from. So we need to do the science on what is formal thought disorder. Thought disorder is a disorganized way of thinking. And the reason why I'm getting into this is because sometimes I think we all suffer from thought disorders, but we don't necessarily attach them to these clinical terms. So many of us in our culture and in our community have seen and heard of situations where we've been lied to, backstabbed, bamboozled by the health system, the government, things of that nature, that sometimes we don't attach ourselves to diagnosis, not understanding that a lot of these scientists who did this research and created these theories did this unbiasedly. A lot of these scientists did this research and created these theories and diagnoses unbiasedly. These diagnoses and symptoms and things of that nature was then used against us by the pharmaceutical companies, right? The philosophers and the people who created these theories and notions did this unbiasedly. So what is formal thought disorder? Thought disorder is a disorganized way of thinking. And while you're listening, I want you to think of how this may apply to you, right? Let's dig deeper. Let's not apply it to someone else. Let's apply it to how it applies to us. And in this way, we can build on how we could use this information to be better, get better, and teach somebody else so they could be better, get better, grow, and build the community. Because that's what it's about. I could keep all the information in myself, but what fun would it be, right? All right, my fault. So let's get into it. Thought disorder is a disorganized way of thinking that leads to abnormal ways of expressing language when speaking and writing. And one of the primary symptoms of schizophrenia, but it may be present in other mental disorders such as mania and depression. Thought disorder is one of the most difficult mental disorders to diagnose and treat, as many people exhibit symptoms of thought disorder occasionally. Some people may demonstrate thought disorder only when they're tired. So it's important to just look at that for a second, because it says thought disorder is one of the most difficult mental disorders to diagnose and treat, as many people exhibit symptoms of thought disorder occasionally, right? So what this is saying is, these is those days when you just like, yo, damn it, I'm just having a bad day. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm thinking. My bad. This is that. This could be a symptom of thought disorder. And let's not take these things personal or on a negative notion. Let's look at these words and terms on a building term, on a building level, right? There's two sides to everything. We can look at things as the negative side of why this is bad, why this is hurting me, why this did me this way, or we can use it to build on. We can build off of this and understand and say, hey, this is where I can make changes to become greater. This is why you hear the gods always say you either build or you destroy. So, thought disorder first appeared in scientific literature in the 1980s. Now, this is very important to address as well, because thought disorder didn't even appear in the literature until the 1980s, which was a very short time ago. Many of the people in this live were born beyond the 1980s. So that just goes to show that the realization of these diagnoses are in its infancy. So the understanding of thinking on a grand scale is in its infancy. Thought disorder first appeared in scientific literature in 1980 when it was first described as a symptom of schizophrenia. Its loose definition is any disturbance of the organization and process of ideas. Okay, so let's get into the different types of thought disorder, right? And again, think about what applies to you, but not in a negative notion. Keep an open mind with the idea. With you keeping an open mind, you can learn something and build yourself and become better. So the first one we got up is allegonia, right? This is a type of thought disorder. People with allegonia, also known as poverty of speech, give brief and unelaborated responses to questions. People with this form of thought disorder rarely speak unless prompted. Allegonia is often seen in people with dementia or schizophrenia. Now, again, let's pause for a second. How many people can you say, and we just say, hey, oh, now he just quiet. Oh, now he just don't talk much, right? But when the reality may be, I'm not saying every person, but the reality may be that this person may suffer from allegonia, where they have what's known as a poverty of speech, and they unelaborate their responses to questions, right? So sometimes we may meet a person who's like this, whose character we deem to be this way, and we may push them to the side like, well, hey, they had nothing to offer because they don't really talk too much. When I speak to them, they're not really giving me nothing back. This may be a mental disorder. They may not know how to put those words together. So we just want to be cognizant of ourselves and of others. Another thought disorder is blocking. People with thought blocking often interpret themselves abruptly. People with thought blocking often interrupt themselves abruptly mid-sentence. They might pause for several seconds or minutes When they start talking again, they often change the topic of conversation. Thought blocking is common in people with schizophrenia. Again, so many people from our culture and our community, we're not fond of the mental health society, right? Now, we'll go to the doctor. Many of us will go to the doctor when we're sick or sick enough, but the mental health side of things, we don't really tap into too much, right? And everybody has their own reason for why they may feel this way. But what I'm explaining is, we just explained blocking. I know I suffer from this myself. I can't speak for anyone else, but I can speak for myself. I definitely interrupt myself abruptly mid-sentence. Then I'll pause for a couple seconds, and then when starting again, change the topic of the conversation to something else. Thought blocking is common in people with schizophrenia. Now, I'm not saying I believe I'm a schizophrenic, but I know I've, on so many occasions, I'll be mid-sentence, and I'm so passionate about what I'm talking about. I'll remember something and then boom, stop talking about topic A and then abruptly get into topic B without any transition. And I need to be cognizant of this and understand, hey, it may not be a mental disorder I'm suffering from, but I'm showing symptoms of a mental disorder with the way that I'm processing. So maybe I need to change it, right? Derailment. A person with derailment talks in chains of only semi-related ideas. The ideas often fall farther and further from the topic of conversation. For example, a person with derailment thought disorder might jump from talking about rabbits to their hair, to their head, to their sweater. Again, this is something you could catch me doing on a regular basis, right? You could catch me talking about the car, and then I'll say, hey, and then I'll get to talking about why, I like foreigns because of Europe. Then I'll get to talking about my thoughts on Europe and how that pertains to America. And then, 20 minutes later, I'm on a 40-minute tangent, and all I was trying to explain to you is why I bought my car. Again, I'm not explaining these things in an effort to say we're all suffering from a mental illness, but what I'm trying to explain is the power in these terms, the power in thought, and understanding how to identify when your thought process may not be as crisp or clean as it should be, right? Again, my belief is that a lot of these effects and a lot of these disorders come from negativity, solely, simply. I don't believe there's a magic trick. I don't believe there's some ghoul or goblin out there that's out to get us all. I believe that just like yin and yang, life is duality, right? Life is built off the positive and the negative. This goes down to electricity. If you remember, 8th grade science, you have electrons and neutrons, which create atoms. Atoms make up every particle of every material, of every element known to the human world. So at the beginning, at the base of life, at its smallest form, there is the good and the bad, the yin and the yang. So I believe a lot of disorders, problems, issues that we suffer from as a people, as a whole, as mankind, simply come from negative thought, negative notions, negative ideas, right? So if all our issues and our problems come from negative thought, negative notion, and negative ideas, we need to break down the damaging effects of negativity. You feel me? You may think that a disease or illness are the reason why you're tired, why you have prolonged aches. But have you ever thought that negativity could be the reason? A pessimist is someone who always has a negative outcome on things. A pessimist always has a negative outcome. Pessimism affects more than just your emotional health. In fact, doctors have found that people with high levels of negativity are more likely to suffer from degenerative brain diseases, cardiovascular problems, digestive issues, and recover from sickness much slower than those with a positive mindset. That's powerful. That's just from having a negative outlook on life. People are more likely to suffer from degenerative brain diseases, cardiovascular problems, degenerative issues, and recover from sickness much slower. Pardon me, my live always get to going crazy when I'm cooking. So all that means is I'm doing my thing. Well, let's keep going. Negativity is often a product of depression or insecurity. And this is where we go back to that thought disorder, right? If you're having constant negative thoughts about yourself, if you're finding yourself in a place that you're constantly thinking about the worst that's going to happen versus the best that's going to happen, if you find yourself constantly finding what's wrong instead of being full of gratitude, this is what we mean. Negativity is often a product of depression or insecurity. It can stem from illness, life events, personality problems, and substance abuse, right? These are all the things that sometimes in our community that they like to say, or we like to tell each other, hey, this is something you just need to get over. A lot of times these are things that in our community, in our families, things that really, may have hurt us, things that have really did damage to us, things that were really traumatizing. We're often told that we just need to get over it. We need to just move on. Especially for men of the community, we often are put in a position where showing emotion could be emasculating, right? But we're living with all of this negativity. These are the consequences, right? Because depression and insecurity can stem from illness, life events, personality problems, and substance abuse. Like many things in life, negativity too can become a habit. This is very important here. Negativity too can become a habit. Luckily, most habits can be broken. Experts say it takes 21 days to break a habit. See, this is why the people who stay alive the longest end up catching all the Jews, right? Because see, we talked about the curse. We talked about the bondage that we under. We talked about, I'm back, my bad. We talked about the curse. We talked about the bondage. But see, now it's time to talk about the solution. It's time to get into how we going to get free now. So with that being said, let's get it. What types of negativity are there? Negativity can manifest itself in numerous ways. Because see, this issue and problem may hide itself in different places and in different ways. So we got to be mindful of how negativity will try to attack us, and be mindful of when it's negativity breaking us down and not truly the issue that we're facing. So sometimes we could be faced with cynicalism. That's a general distrust of people and their moves. I love you back, King. You know the vibes, go out. I see you in the live, boy. You want to be very mindful of not being a cynicalist. You don't want to have a general distrust of people and their moves. Everybody you meet has to have a fresh slate and a fresh start with you. You can't make people pay for the sins of old. That's just not fair, right? That's just not fair. Hostility. That's when you're being unfriendly towards others, unwilling to develop relationships. I have moments like that myself where I go somewhere new. There's a bunch of new people. I may have came with my guys, and all I want to do is stand with my guys, chill with my guys. I'm not really too interested in meeting the people here, talking to people here. I'm good. I know who I know. I'm good over here. And that's not a necessarily way to be. That's not open. That's not positive, right? And sometimes we got to look at the deeper point and the deeper reason why we're like this versus just accepting being this person. We got to build and grow and become more, right? So another negative habit or symptom of negative thinking or negative habiting is filtering, only noticing the bad and what should be a happy experience or memory, right? How many times have we all been on a date and everything is going great, everything is going good? The person you're on a date with just does one thing that's a little shaky, throws you off a little bit. And from that one moment, you're unsure about everything now. Everything was just good. Everything was just great. But due to filtering, you filtered and only noticed the bad and what should be a happy experience. So instead of thinking about, that date was great, can't wait till I see her again, all of that cool stuff, you just worried about the couple words you fumbled over. You're only worried about the time you almost tripped while trying to pull a chair out. And that's something that she long forgot about, but you're so stuck on it. So now the next time you're overdoing it, right? This is all negative thinking, right? We want to stay away from pulverized thinking. That's the belief that if something or someone is not perfect, then they must be horrible, right? That comes from prior distrust. Because of people letting you down and being disappointed in the past, once someone shows you one or two things that don't align with what you think is right, you're quick to shut them down and push them to the side and believe that they're a bad person. A lot of these things, like I mentioned before, come from prior trauma, right? So many of us are living with PTSD. And because our community, our culture is not too fond of the mental health field, we don't find ourselves understanding, researching, and learning about the effects of this trauma that we've been through. So many times we're simply told we got to get over it. I've been through worse. You'll be okay. We're not given the actual language of the issues that we're suffering from. So the fifth type of negativity, jumping to conclusions, assuming something bad will happen because of circumstances in the past. I'm a huge proprietor of jumping to conclusions. So many instances because of things or people that have done or disappointed me. Because again, we got to stop looking at someone did something wrong. We got to stop looking at it through the lens of, yo, this person did wrong. Because wrong and right is relative to you. See, to you, a black lighter is okay. To somebody else, this black lighter may mean something totally different on some type of, gang activity, religious activity, who knows? But for you, because you don't subscribe to the gang that hates black lighters, for you, this lighter is, it's no problem. It's nothing. But for somebody else, that could be extremely offensive. So we could jump to conclusions as to why this lighter is offensive to somebody else, or we could start a conversation. When we feel uncomfortable, that just means it's time to start a conversation. We can't assume something is bad or something bad will happen because in the past, something bad happened. It's a new life. Shouts out to Mr. Pringle. Every day is a new day. Happy New Day. It's a new day. New day. You dig? So we can't walk around jumping to conclusions, right? The seventh, blaming. Blaming others for personal maladies and feeling that you're the victim to life's uncontrollable events. We can't walk around blaming, and we definitely can't walk around playing the victim. I have a huge issue and problem with playing the victim. I constantly play the victim. It's not something that's conscious, but it's a symptom of my trauma and post-traumatic stress issues and events in my life, where playing the victim is almost a defense mechanism. So defense mechanisms come into play subconsciously. If you go to reach for a fly, he's not thinking move. Subconsciously, his mind is going to make him move. If you're walking, pushing a cart, and someone is about to fall, you're going to subconsciously move the cart. It's not something, think, move cart. No, it's subconsciously happens. So we're going to pause on playing the victim for a moment. Let's look at the line between victims and abusers. Victims' identity is focused on damages suffered at the hands of other people. The desire to be identified as a victim creates a sense of entitlement and a motive to devalue anyone who does not offer special recognition and validation of victim status or compensation for it. Playing the victim is about getting attention, right? When you have quietly, Lee, playing the victim creates a sense of entitlement. Entitled to what? To special recognition. You want to play the victim. We're at a party, everything is great, but you want to come in the party and talk about how, yo, I'm so hungry, yo, this party is great, but I'm starving. I could use something to eat, man. This is great, but I could use some food. You want special recognition and validation versus going ahead and getting yourself something to eat, man. Right? This is playing the victim. And this is something we have to work on not doing, because everybody has a story. If everybody took the time to stop and tell you their story, we would get nothing done, because everybody has a sad story. In our age of entitlement, which is what we're living in here, these millennial babies and better, in our age of entitlement, it is often difficult for friends and therapists to detect abuse in intimate relationships and to discern who a primary abuser is. This is especially hard in cases of emotional abuse because everybody feels entitled. So we really don't know who abusing who because everybody in this situation feels like their feelings need to be addressed first. Their feelings need to be addressed fully and all the way through until we move on to something else. And if that's not the case, then things are wrong. But the issue with that is we don't have time for that. If we have a common goal, if we're working towards something in some place, we may not have time to make sure that each individual's issues, concerns, problems, and worries are addressed full and from A to Z, head to tail. Some things may have to wait. So, the following characteristics of primary abusers and victims are not foolproof, but they're found to be highly reliable, based on the dramatic change of attitudes by the end of the treatment. Research and clinical experience clearly indicates that abusers are likely to underreport, hide, minimize, or justify their abusive behavior. Abusers are likely to describe themselves as victims. Abusers are likely to feel abused when their partners disagree with them or don't do what they want. Abusers label their partner's behavior as abuse. Abusers attribute malevolent intent in their partner's positive behavior, which means being manipulative or deceptive. Abusers are pathologize, that's a new word, pathologize, see, that's why reading and Hooked on Phonics works. Pathologize their partners, which means they emotionally or personality disorder leads them to believe they're incompetent. Abusers use negative labels, nag, they're irrational, hysterical, lazy, unreliable. Abusers have great difficulty describing their partner's perspective. They only can see it from one side of the story. Abusers show little to no compassion. Abusers exhibit self-righteousness. Again, none of these laws are laws. None of these rules are rules. These are simply signs, red flags, things you should look out for in an effort to ensure the person you're dealing with isn't trying to play the victim on you or abuse you. Because again, due to traumatic stress that we go through in this life, we've built up so much negative thought. We're living and walking in a space where negative thought is a consummate thing, unfortunately. And that's not necessarily all of our fault. There's so many negative things that we live through the news. This is why I don't watch the news. I'm not a big fan of TV. I'm usually a YouTube guy. I watch podcasts only because so much of the news and TV is only filled with bad news and negative energy. Mr. Pringle hit it on the head. Abusers are users. They have no choice because they have nothing left in them, so they have to feed off of someone else in order to replenish themselves. There's so many animals in the wild that leech on the other animals. Like great white sharks have little fish. I forget the name of these little fish, but these little fish attach themselves to the great white. And they just feed off of him as he swims through and does his thing. Now, them feeding off of this great white doesn't affect the great white to a great degree, not enough that he cares. But without that great white, they don't live. Abusers are those little fish. Without a great white to use, they can no longer exist. So, how the line got blurred. Emotional reactivity and the victim identity movement. Abusers, victims, like anyone in a relationship with high emotional reactivity, build automatic defense systems. We spoke about that, which includes preemptive strikes. If you expect to be criticized, stonewalled, or demeaned, you'll do it first. And I find myself doing that, right? Light stealers, absolutely, Lily. But if you feel like something you're going to be criticized, stonewalled, or demeaned, you'll do it first. Hit before you get hit. Victims can easily develop a reactive narcissism that makes them seem like the abuser. This is important. You see, because when you're being abused, you're in a constant defense state. Because almost everything you do is being deemed incorrect, wrong, invalid, because it's to keep you in a constant lower self. Because when you're in your lower self, you're much easier to control. So when you're constantly being criticized, stonewalled, and demeaned as a victim, now you'll grow to try to constantly criticize, stonewall, and demean others before they get the chance to do it to you. And in that, you become a narcissist, right? Because a narcissist is someone who only thinks about what's going to work for him and what's best for him without any empathy for anyone else. And this is where many victims end up, because like anybody, after being victimized for so long, many victims develop a notion, hey, I'm not going to be victimized anymore by any means necessary. So this is how they become a narcissist. But emotional reactivity between intimate partners, although more frequent in the age of entitlement, is a small part of the story. A more potent variable in blurring the line between victim and abuser is the reactivity of a social movement. The victim protection movement began as a noble attempt to counteract the most indigenous aspects of abusive dynamic, blaming the victim, which has the effect of making the victim feel ashamed of being abused. But as in the case with all effective social movements, the pendulum has swung too far the other way. We now have a victim identity movement fueled by an industry of self-help authors and advocates. Now, this is fueled also by social media. This is where we find all of these memes. This is where we find all of these what are said to be inspirational quotes and things of that nature. But let's see how that may hurt us. That have conferred a certain status to being a victim and thereby blurred the lines between victim and abuser. For example, at the beginning of my career, I saw many male abuse victims who've become angry and verbally aggressive at the suggestion that their partners abused them. Now, obvious victims, along with those who are not victims, but who are identified with descriptions in self-help books, become angry and aggressive if they're not recognized as victims. Now, that's a mouthful, but basically, in layman's terms, what they're saying is the Me Too movement, right? So many people were abused and put in situations they shouldn't have been in the past, and once they got self-help books and identified and were given certain descriptions of these behaviors, they became angry and aggressive. And now they recognize that they're victims. The primary mistake with abusers is to reinforce their victim's identity by emphasizing childhood or other experiences where they were mistreated, validating their reinstatement and anger as appropriate, would validate the distorted perspective that go along with anger and reinstatement. See, abusers are crafty. This is not something that they started doing today. This is not something new to them. This is not something that they just, began and are practicing. This is something they do on a regular. This is a means to an end. This is a art of survival. So let's not get caught in the language. And what they're really saying is, validating their resentment and anger as appropriate, which validates the distorted perspective that go with anger and resentment. So this is like, for instance, as a guy, and I'm guilty of this as well. You get caught cheating on your lady. She's pissed to the T. And you say to her, "You right. You should be mad." This is simply manipulation. This is manipulation because this is a mistake abusers use to reinforce to their victim They validate the anger as appropriate. Yo, it's fine. I get it. You're upset. Right? Another one, confronting them in shame-inducing ways before they learn to regulate shame with compassion. So there's a way to come to somebody and let them know, hey, I didn't like what you did, or hey, what you did made me feel this way, or whatever the case may be. But when you do it in a way that brings shame to that person, this is manipulation. There's a way to have a conversation and say, hey, when you made that fried chicken, it was just a bit too salty. I think, I like to have my chicken a little less salty, thinking about health-wise and flavor and things like that. So next time, let's just do a little bit less. Or you could come and say, yo, the way you poured that chicken, that salt on that chicken, yo, it's like you never made chicken in your life. Who raised you? How did you learn it? Like, confronting someone in shame-inducing ways makes you an abuser. We have to be clear on how we address people and the angles we're coming from. We may be manipulating someone and not even knowing the tactics we're using or manipulating them, because these tactics may have been used on us in the past. So we don't even know we're doing what was done to us. And 9 times out of 10, that's what victims do. They practice the same behaviors of their abuser subconsciously, unbeknownst to them. The primary mistake with victims is urging them to think and sound like abusers. Due to the victim identity movement, some genuine victims will now minimize or justify their own aggressive behavior. Some victims may dismiss their partner's perspective. Some victims may attribute malevolent intent to their partner's positive behavior. Some victims use negative labels, selfish, controlling, pig. Some victims pathologize their partners. But now let's get into, we got 15 minutes left. Let's get into successful treatment and friendly supportive victims. We all have a friend, an aunt, an uncle, a cousin, a sister, a brother, someone out there somewhere that we know is being abused. And abuse is not, and definitely always or limited to, I want a big shout out to Sherbinsky's Gelatos. Help me get a sponsor, y'all. These are hemp-ettes, 0 nicotine, 0 tobacco, 0 0 THC. All natural, y'all. So if you're trying to quit cigarettes, this is a great alternative. You feel me? But shouts out to them. But now let's get into the successful treatment. Right, Lee. It's deep. It's getting deep. And this is why we're going to move the God Vlogs to YouTube, because this content may be a little too deep for the liking of the algorithms of the YouTube and things of that nature. And as we growing and becoming refined in this thing, a little more seasoned in this thing, and as we becoming a lot more professional in this thing, we need to go ahead and take this to a platform that respects what we're doing and respects our topics, and the algorithms will rock with us the way we need them to rock. You know what I'm saying? So, successful treatment and friendly supportive victims. No treatment or support of victims can be successful by urging them to disown their compassionate nature, right? So you can never heal somebody by telling them, yo, you got to stop caring. The only people that get hurt so deep are the people who care. No one who doesn't care is going to be so hurt by anything. These are narcissists. But no treatment or support of victims can be successful by urging them to disown their compassionate nature and think more like their abusers. So don't run around telling people, yo, she cheated on you, you need to go cheat back on her. That's not going to heal them. That's going to bring them temporary happiness because they think they got get back, but they never actually got healed, right? Rather, treatment should attempt to build on their strengths. This is expand the good things about their nature in a way that ensures safety and growth. So, yo, if you got a home girl, a home boy, a sister, a brother, a cousin, and you know for sure they're going through a situation at work where their boss is, disrespectful, they're abusing them. Their boss is talking to them like they nothing. Their boss is making them stay late. They won't give them no days off. Their boss is just somebody that is really abusing the compassion and the love of this worker, you don't want to tell them to treat the boss the same way the boss is treating them, because that's not going to bring them healing, right? That's just going to keep them in this constant beef that they can't win. So what you rather want to do is tell them to build on their strengths, man. Hey, listen, I know that job sucks, but look, I can get you a job here, here, here. I know you a great worker. You got that strength. So I'm not going to tell you to use that energy to fight this boss. I'm going to tell you, use that energy to go ahead and get you a job over here. And this is a good quality job where you'll be appreciated. A deeper level of compassion helps them see the damage an abuser does to them by harming them. Let me say that again. A deeper level of compassion helps them see the damage an abuser does to the self by harming loved ones. You got to show love to teach love. We can't teach love out of hate. It just can't work like that. It don't make sense, right? So a deeper level of compassion has to be used in an effort to show the abused that love still exists. They can leave compassionately for the abuser's own good. This is far more empowering stance that will feel more authentic. Avoid residual bitterness that adversely affects partnering, and be less likely to stir revenge from an abuser who feels humiliated by separation. It will not create a pendulum of pain. So what this means is it's more empowering to not return or get your hit back. It's more empowering for you to turn the other cheek and show love. I'm not saying that somebody rob you, steal from you, or things of that nature for you to be cool with them. But what I'm saying is it's better for you to not engage in the hateful tactics, to engage in the negative tactics. It's far better for you to rise above it, because now the pendulum of pain will not swing. You won't have those regrets. Well, I shouldn't have said this. I shouldn't have did that. Maybe what if you won't have that, because you already took the higher road out. Because when you don't take the higher road out, many times victims leave out of anger and resentment only to return out of guilt and shame. So what that means is so many times we get victimized. And instead of simply taking the high road out and leaving the abuser to deal with whatever's there and go heal yourself, we lash out, we respond aggressively, we go crazy. But then when we go back and replay it in our minds, the anger and resentment we left out of is the same reason and the same thing that brought us back, because now we feel guilty and shameful about what we did. But if we would have left on the right foot originally, we would have never felt any guilt, any shame, or any reason to renege on what we already said. Successful treatment and friendly support of abusers. Now, this is for the friend you know that's out there doing dirt. You know homeboy out here lying to these women. You know shorty out here, not taking care of her kid. It's just reality. We all have someone. It may not be a friend. More times than not, it's usually a family member that we stuck with, you know what I mean, that ain't living right. But we got to support these people in an effort to bring them back to sanity. So abusers must access the natural state of compassion, their first experience as very young children, and relive when they were falling in love. This is deep, son. Abusers must access the natural state of compassion and that they first experience as very young children. This is why you find so many times many abusers, men, women, whatever, often run into the next relationship immediately, because what they're searching for is that natural state of compassion that they first experienced when they were very young children. And they want to relive when they were falling in love. And this is why we often try to run a new partner after new partner after new partner, because that spark, that immediate euphoric feeling of when you first meet someone is what a lot of abusers are chasing constantly. But when they recognize that they have fundamental values that are more important to them than their egos, and that their egos were constructed in large part as a defense against the shame of violating or losing touch with those values. Motivated by defensive ego, they violate their deepest values and devalue those they love. Right? This is how people become abusers. Most will then recognize, most abusers will then recognize they have fundamental values that are more important to them than their egos. Yo, look, I don't believe in stealing. My ego is not going to allow me to go steal because I have a fundamental value that says to me, yo, I shouldn't steal, right? That's when I realize I have a fundamental value that's more important than my ego. But then our egos are constructed in a large part as a defense against the shame of violating or losing touch with those values. What that means is you said you wouldn't rob a bank because that's against what you believe, but you end up starting to rob banks. You end up committing crime. So your ego gets big simply as a defense against the shame of you lying to people and lying to yourself and you violating your value of not robbing a bank. So now you walk around with this big head, but you're really just trying to hide the fact that you're robbing banks, right? So when you're motivated by a defensive ego, you will violate your deepest values and devalue who you love, because at all costs, you're going to protect that ego. Because if you don't protect that ego, then all your secrets get revealed. Motivated by their deepest values, their need to defend a fragile ego subsides, along with their need to control, criticize, dominate, and devalue others. Notice that appeal to the deepest value of clients and friends makes the distinction between abusers and victims less important. The compassionate victim, knowing that the abuser cannot change without them becoming more compassionate, will leave. An abuser who becomes more compassionate cannot continue to abuse. I'm going to read that again. Motivated by defensive ego, abusers will violate their deepest values and devalue who they love. But if they're motivated by their deepest values, right? If you let the ego go and you let yourself become motivated by what truly matters to you, the need to defend a fragile ego subsides, along with the need to control, criticize, dominate, and devalue other people. Notice that the appeal to the deepest value, appealing to someone's deepest value and not their ego, makes the distinction between abusers and victims less important. When we all appeal to each other's deepest values, and instead of trying to beat on each other's egos, the lines are gone. There are no abusers or victims. Instead, a victim is compassionate enough to know that, hey, their abuser cannot change unless I keep showing them love. And love don't mean to let them keep abusing you. Sometimes you got to love somebody enough to move the fuck on and get the fuck out the way. Because you keep coming back and going back and forth and doing the whole circle thing is a disservice to not only you, but them. Now, the disservice to yourself shouldn't even count, because if you punch yourself in the face, nobody cares. But if you're punching somebody else in the face, that's a little bit fucked, a little bit messed up. So the point is, if someone is abusing you, the best thing you can do is to show them the ultimate love back, right? Because when you appeal to their deepest values and you show them that ultimate love back, and you understand an abuser is not going to change without becoming more compassionate. They got to see that love to learn that love. That don't mean stay in their face and let them keep abusing you. Sometimes the most thing I could do for you, if I love you, is get away from you. Because they be there to teach you and show you like, whoa, what I'm doing is crazy. If Dave ain't messing with me no more on no level, then maybe I got to make a change here. And that's compassion. Compassion is not criticizing everybody every day, pointing the finger. Sometimes it's just getting out the way. So with a compassionate victim, he can teach the abuser compassion, which will then soften the abuser. And an abuser who becomes more compassionate won't want to abuse anymore. A compassionate victim, knowing that their abuser cannot change without becoming more compassionate, will leave. A compassionate victim, knowing that their abuser cannot change without becoming more compassionate, will leave. Once you understand, I'm compassionate enough to get it, yo, you not going to change unless you become more compassionate. I don't see you doing that. I'm out. There's no beef. There's no resentment. It's a you thing. Ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm chilling. I'm good where I'm at. You not. That's a you thing. And we got to get to the place where we understand that and we don't become the abuser because we were abused, nor do we turn a blind eye to those being abused or abusers that don't affect us. We got to keep a mind eye on all parties because this is cultural community watch. So, with that being said, I want to shout out everybody that came through the live this evening. It was a great one. I think I'm going to make 7 o'clock the new God Vlogs hour. It's bright outside, got good sunshine. I think it's just a better time. So we're going to keep 7 p.m. as the God Vlog time. I want to let you guys know that, I've been saying it, but I'm so serious now, man. The God Vlogs and a majority of the content will be moving to YouTube channel Forever 9-5. If you're watching here, you already here. So shouts out to you. If you're watching here, you might got to get there. So go to YouTube and in the search bar, I want you to put in, forget this YouTube. Go to Google. Just Google Forever, the word forever, the word 9-5. Just put those 3 words in. Boom. First thing you're going to come up is YouTube page Forever 9-5. That's us. I want to thank anybody that did that. That's anybody that's taking the time to listen. Shouts out. I need everybody, as always, to hit that share button so this way the knowledge and the information could spread. Again, we will be taking the show to YouTube. We will very shortly be creating a Patreon, and on that Patreon, we'll be doing specific shows for financial growth, mental growth, spiritual growth. These shows will be deep dives. I'm talking 2-hour breakdowns of taxes, 2-hour breakdowns of banks and investments, 2-hour breakdowns of real estate, commercial, residential. I'm talking about deep dives. So look out for the Patreon link. It's coming soon. That's all I got, man. Peace to the planet. Suave God. I'm out.